And we are live right here at 899 Action Center. Linggo na naman po. We will be having a educational and very informative discussion today. So, introduce ko lang po yung guest natin. Siya po yung the first female president of Manitoba Filipino Business Council dito po sa Manitoba, of course. Having keen understanding of the knowledge of Filipino business in the region, Jackie Wild has worked resilient efforts to create a supportive and nurturing environment. Her dedication and passion have earned the trust and respect of entrepreneurs, professionals, and stakeholders alike. Under Jackie's guidance, the Manitoba Filipino Business Council has achieved numerous milestones, empowering Filipino entrepreneurs, facilitating networking opportunities, advocating for policies that promote economic inclusivity and diversity. Through her strategic leadership, the Council will become a driving force in enhancing the visibility and impact of Filipino business in Manitoba. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Manitoba Filipino Business Council, Jackie Wild.
Very, very nice to be here. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, thank you po sa pagpunta.
That's as far as my Tagalog will get me.
So, magtatanong ko ng Tagalog. Hopefully, I could cope up with the English. Okay, that's fine. So, there's two parts dito po sa discussion natin ngayon. So, pag-usapan po natin ano bang ginagawa ng Manitoba Filipino Business Council. At the same time, yung ating negosyante. Jackie Wild is the owner of Tito Boy's Restaurant as well. Ready?
Ready, steady. Hit me with your hardest questions first.
Okay, let's go start with the Manitoba Filipino Business Council. Introduce Filipino Business Council muna, then we'll go on a personal, paano nag-start ang business, mga requirements, mga grants. Yan po, pag-uusapan po natin gabi. So, very excited. Ako yung na-excite kasi ako isang negosyante. Hopefully kayo ma-excite. Then, questions po, you can post your questions po sa Facebook. We're live ngayon po sa Facebook Live. Then, na-replay on YouTube as well. So, ganun po yung format. Manitoba Filipino Business Council muna. Then, negosyo. Then, balik po tayo. Wrap up po tayo sa scope po ng Manitoba Filipino Business Council Inc. Alright po. Jackie, what is Manitoba Filipino Business Council? Introduce po natin sa ating mga kababayan.
For sure. Well, the Manitoba Filipino Business Council is a very, very special group, very near and dear to my heart that I've been involved with for the last decade, actually. It's been around for 13 years now, and it really started as a community. It was a community for Philippine business people and professionals, as well as businesses that were supporting Philippine people. And we now consider ourselves the prime community resource hub where Philippine business people and professionals can connect. And we really strive to serve as a jumping off point for folks who maybe are just at the very start of their journey. They want to learn about how to get things going, start their business, get a corporation set up, connecting with an accountant, what kind of insurance do they need? Do they need to talk to a banker about financing? Like the many questions that come with starting your own business. There are plenty and countless numbers of things that we come across as entrepreneurs. But also, having a connection point for younger people who maybe see themselves as growing a business one day, but really need to find mentorship. They're looking for people that they can look up to, and seeing people that look like them represented in the industries that they want to build a future in. So we really are trying to support the next generation of Philippine people as well, to give them an opportunity to see someone that looks like them doing really cool things as business people.
Ayun. So, nabanggit mo yung cool things of being a business people. Mahirap po mag-start ng business dito sa Winnipeg or sa Manitoba, especially if you're a newcomer.
Yeah.
And kahit dito po tayo pinanganak o dito tayo teenager or dito tayo namuhay na, again, starting a new venture in life is so hard. And especially kung tama yung sabi mo, pag walang mentorship. In your expertise or experience, paano po ba mag-start? Ano ba yung dapat nilang unahin? no, to start a business.
Like, what's the first step?
First step, yung business plan.
Yeah.
Then, of course, yung research muna, pag-aaralan nila yan, right? Kung feasible ba o hindi.
There's lots.
Okay.
You know, even before the formal aspects of starting up a business, you know, you talk about the business plan, finding a lawyer to set up your name registration, incorporate a business, all of those things. You need to find a community. I think that is the very first point of action. If you are even remotely interested in starting any business, doesn't matter whether you're a side hustler, whether you're kind of, you know, going all in and you're investing your entire life savings into starting something new. You need to find people that have had similar life experience, because it is so much easier than starting from square one. Because the thing with being an entrepreneur or a business person is that you're going to make a lot of mistakes.
Correct.
That is just inherent. and that's okay, right?
Yes,
that is okay.
learning.
It's many learning opportunities. But isn't it so much easier if you learn from other people's mistakes before you make them for your own? And what's really beautiful about our business community is that people are just so willing to help, willing to share their lived experiences with other folks too. So that way you aren't starting from square one, and you have knowledge in your back pocket. You have people that you can lean on, depend on for mentorship, for guidance and advice. And that's why the council is such a great place for people who aren't even starting to set up their business, can at least be exposed to it. And in some ways it inspires people to just go all in and like dive deep. And then sometimes people realize how hard it is to start a business. And then they realize, you know what, maybe at this juncture in my life I'm not ready, but I know who I can talk to when I am. So I think it's really, really important, circles back around to mentorship, to having the proper advisors. And the thing is, with the Manitoba Filipino Business Council, we are a community resource hub. So we may not necessarily have the answers for you as a council. We are a nonprofit organization, and we're made up of volunteer board members that run all of the events that you see on Facebook and on social media. But the beauty of this network is that we are connected with people who do have the answers for you. So if you're looking for a lawyer, if you're looking for an accountant, if you're looking for a banker, you're looking for a graphic designer, a videographer, photographer, whoever it may be, a food distributor. that is the first point of connection.
Correct.
For whether you're a newcomer and this is your first few months in Winnipeg or somewhere else in Manitoba, and you're looking for that community to connect with. So that way it can expedite that discovery process for you. Or maybe you might be an established person who's grown up here, second, third, maybe even fourth generation, but you haven't been part of the business community yet. We are here to welcome you into our family and help connect you with the right people. So that's number one.
Yeah, number one yun.
First step.
First step.
And then you're so right. Research is really important even before you start your business plan. You know, do the due diligence to figure out like how viable is this business opportunity for you. Find an advisory board. Nothing formal. I know it sounds like very formal saying an advisory board, but really just finding your circle, your support network, and meeting and connecting with people both from the Philippine community and beyond, who maybe have been part of that industry, who have been exposed to it, who have had successful businesses or who have had failed businesses too. What did work and what didn't work for them. That's really important. And then of course just doing the research on the internet too, looking at all the data points. For every industry, there is a plethora of data that can show you what are the business opportunities, what are the margins in your industry, what are the greatest pitfalls, how much is the point of entry, like financially, how much do you have to put up front to start this thing?
We'll
at what
talk
scale?
about more of that mamaya.
Opo. We can talk more about financing and where to get it. And then what's really great is that there are so many organizations here locally that can support you once you're ready to start that business plan, once you've had enough advice, you are confident that this is something that can work, then you start the formal process of a business plan. That's when you can do it on your own, but I highly recommend connecting with one of the many organizations locally that are willing to help and have a plethora of resources to help you do that. I think of places like BDC, the Women's Enterprise Center, Futurepreneur, North Forge. Depending on your industry, there is a group that is going to be there to literally hold your hand from day one and walk with you every step of the way, so you're not alone. And I was really fortunate with our business, with the restaurant, to have gotten financing with the Women's Enterprise Center of Manitoba, WECM for short. And WECM has been just the most tremendous supporter for us, not just financially, but they actually have business advisors that will go through your business plan with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that it is bulletproof and that you've thought of everything. And they provide, impartial advice to make sure that you really are thinking about every potential pitfall that you can encounter before you actually encounter it in real life, which can save you a lot of money and a lot of stress in the long term. Yeah, so those are the first few steps, and then everything else comes afterwards.
Okay. So very tampoy sabi po ni President Jackie, research. At the same time, again, magtiwala po tayo sa mga expert na kagaya po nila. Talk to the business people. No po, wag po sa hindi pong may mga negosyante po, pero yung talk to the expert kasi sila po yung nakakaalam. And at least gaya po na sabi po niya, nandito po yung council para mag-guide po sa inyo kung ano po yung tamang gawin at para hindi po ma-frustrate sa first business po natin sa Manitoba. Yung business plan po is napaka-importante ito, nabanggit po ni Jackie kanina. At gaya kanina, yung mentorship, palagi po, meron po dapat po yan. Huwag po kayo matakot, no? Don't be afraid.
Of course.
Kasi it's free? Is it free? Libre. Libre naman pala po. So again, mag-connect lang po tayo sa council, no? Next thing is yung registration. So kumpleto na siya. Well-versed na siya. Is on 75%. Kaya ko na to.
Yeah.
So na-research na yung competitor and everything. Yung registration. Paano po yan?
Yeah, so I think this is what intimidates a lot of people.
Correct.
Like the idea of registering your business. And there's many, many different levels of complexity of registering a business. But the very first step is incredibly simple, registering your name. That way, nobody else is going to try to take the identity that you've worked so hard to build. And that way you have something that is official and allows you to start your branding, right? That's really important for any business. So you can do a name registration online with the company's office. It isn't very expensive. It's less than a few $100s. And then you have that name search done, and then you can actually go ahead and register your business name. It is something that you can do by yourself, for sure. I've done it before. But if you are really serious about registering your name and want to get the proper guidance, I would suggest getting a lawyer involved. Because they will help you do the due diligence to make sure that you are registering it at the right level, whether it's provincially or nationally. Really thinking about, depending on how big you want to scale this business, any potential legal conflict that you could have down the road because there are so many different names that have already been registered out there that you're just thinking of everything. But that's the first step. Very simple. Very cost effective. I mean, if you're a sole proprietor, that might be the only thing that you need to do. Register the name of your business, and then you can continue filing your income on a personal level. However, if you are, making a certain income threshold, again, I'm not an accountant or a legal advisor, so please talk to your accountants and legal advisors for what that might look like. But there are certain businesses where you would really want to consider having your business incorporated, so that way you have a separate legal entity. And that just gives you a little bit more protection. And like as an example, with our restaurant, we have it incorporated, and that requires just a few extra steps. Your lawyers will walk you through that. And at that juncture, I would really highly recommend making sure that you have legal advice to make sure that your bylaws are bulletproof. If you have more than one person involved in investing, very important that you get some legal advice on how that is all split. And then really how you want to structure your business can very much evolve from that point, whether it's a partnership that you want to embark on. If you're, if you're a professional, limited liability partnerships and whatnot are different ventures that you can take on when it comes to registering your business. But again, like the simplest is just to get that name registered, and then that way you're off to the races, and you got at least one thing done, and you can do it within the span of an hour.
Yes,
it is
exactly.
Very, very easy and accessible to do.
And it's online naman siya ngayon. So again, business idea, research, business plan. After that, register pa tayo.
Yeah.
Next step would be, nabanggit po kanina ni President Jackie, taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, yun ang pinaka-importante rin, no? You have to register. After you get your name, then you have to register it to CRA.
Yes.
To get a business permit or business name.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And depending on what kind of business it is, whether you're reselling goods, you have to look at getting either or both a PST and a GST number.
Correct.
And again, best to get your accountant involved in this aspect, because they'll be able to actually advise you on what you need and how often you should be remitting your taxes. So I know people don't like talking about taxes. I personally am not a numbers person. I'm a marketing and communications person. So I need to have, the accountants, the bookkeepers on my side, because I am not the type of person that can run these numbers myself. But regardless, it is so helpful to have an accountant on your side from the get-go, because they will be able to help you with your tax planning. And that can save you so much money in the long run too. And I know that there are a lot of myths that exist in the business community about what you can actually claim and not claim on your taxes. And we, our industry, our sector, the Philippine business community, we are legitimate business people, and we want to uphold a very high reputation for running high quality businesses. And we want to make sure everyone is doing it the proper way too. Correct. And by having the advice of an accountant, then they can make sure that you are filing your taxes the way that they should be, and remitting your taxes on time, properly. And so highly recommend, even before you open your business, get your accountant involved in the planning side. Correct. Even to review your business plan too. They will be instrumental in helping put together your financial projections. And that's a really important part of the business plan too, that a lot of people maybe don't take enough time to do like a detailed summation of like what a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 year projection may be. But it's really important to do that, because especially if you're working in a smaller margin business, or maybe it's a business that requires a lot of upfront investment, it can be demoralizing when you don't see that return on your investment right away.
Exactly.
So that's really important to get an accountant involved to give you that, help keep you sane.
Exactly.
Going through the tough times, because being an entrepreneur is so challenging mentally, physically. You're running your business 24/7. It's the only thing and the priority, first thing that comes to your mind all the time. And it can feel really lonely too, right?
Exactly.
You can feel very alone, right? And I mean, that's why it's great to have community, for sure.
Correct, like the council.
Yes.
So they all provide this mentoring as well.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. Even if the council might not have somebody in the exact same industry as you, or maybe you're an experienced business person that's not going to get a lot of value from the introductory learnings. Just having a sounding board, I think, is really valuable.
Yes.
Especially after everything that everyone has gone through over the pandemic too. Like, we actually had hosted right off the bat, when we had brought in our new board in 2021, we had a town hall and community check-ins, just to have a pulse check on the community, to give everyone a chance to just get together and share what we've been feeling. Because I feel like one of the other challenges with being in business, whether you're a business person or an entrepreneur, is that things can just progress and move so quickly that you don't actually take a pause to reflect on how you're feeling. Correct. And take care of your mental health.
Yes,
too.
That's true.
And our community too, right? Like, we suppress a lot of our feelings, because there's so much pressure to do well, to do it quietly without complaints. Put your head down, do the work, be the hardest worker in the room, never complain. And I think in the long term, that really messes with your head. And that is like expedited when you're an entrepreneur because you're so alone in your journey. So it's really important to have people that can be there for you, especially at the beginning of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one of my friends said, there's a blueprint already to follow,
Yeah.
which is the council has already. Kaya nga po, sundin na po natin yung tamang daan sa pagiging member po ng council. Di-discuss po mamaya ni Jackie how to be a team member of the council.
Yeah.
So, we have everything already. Set up na siya physically, mentally, he's prepared.
Yeah.
Then the most important thing is funding. Okay. Of course, in every business, you have to start with a capital. Okay. Does the government give us grants? Ano po yung mga business grants na pwedeng makuha ng isang
Opo. And you know,
entrepreneur?
the shocking thing is that most of the government grants are not fully consumed because a lot of people don't know that they're there for them. A lot of them will extend deadlines for applications or don't end up exhausting the whole budget that they have because there's just not enough applicants to use these funds, which is crazy.
After this show, there's a lot already.
Please do a Google search for these grant opportunities.
Okay, number one.
Yes. Grants.
Let's start.
Grants. So there are many different grants. It depends on the type of business that you have, of course. There's different tech grants, grants for nonprofit organizations, which are also businesses, of course. There's micro grants. So depending on what you need, maybe you need to get new equipment. There's, the Canada Jobs Grant at a federal level, which can be a huge surplus of funds for you to be able to train your employees, maybe bring in some summertime staff. Just many different ways that you can get some additional support. So that way you're not self-funding the entire thing, which I think is a pitfall for a lot of businesses in our community. Like we try to do it all by ourselves and we do it alone because we don't want to burden other people. But those are our tax dollars, so we better use them.
Where do we get those information? Do we have a website or?
Yeah, so our website is actually going to be launching in the next few weeks.
Oh, congratulations.
And it'll be mfbc.ca, and we will actually point to the places that have the whole archive and update these links on a very regular basis of where you can get that funding. But if you're looking for like a direct search, the Winnipeg Chamber is a really great resource, the Manitoba Chamber as well. And if you are connected with the Women's Enterprise Center, a Futurepreneur, a lot of those small business incubator and funding groups, they will be able to tell you where to find that additional funding too. So, but Google is very helpful. They'll be able to have like an exhaustive list of where you can get that funding, but you just need to literally type in a few words, Manitoba, small business grants, and then federally. Make sure you're checking the federal grants too, because oftentimes those are the ones that don't go fully consumed.
So you're launching a website this coming week?
In the next few weeks,
In the next few weeks. Yeah. So everything will be there. So again, abangan po natin yan after 2 weeks. So ipopost rin po natin sa 899 Action Center yung kanilang website. Doon po tayo makaka-research about the grants. Importante po yan.
And we have a newsletter too. So the newsletter link will be on there. So that way you don't even need to worry about remembering to check the website. We'll have the regular newsletter that'll go out, and then you'll have updates on the new grants that are released as well. So yeah, BDC is a great resource too. They will always be able to connect you with the right place that knows which upcoming grants are coming through the funnel too.
What's the BDC?
They're the Business Development, I think, Bank of Canada, and they do financing for small businesses and large businesses of all sizes, and they're just a wealth of knowledge. They even if you go on their website, they have business plan templates that you can use to just get started, and they can provide some pretty significant jumpstart funding if you're launching a new business. And they will also refer you to some of the other organizations I've mentioned before, depending on what your industry is and who you are as a business person. So that way you can get additional funding opportunities. And what's really great about these these organizations is that sometimes, I mean, the bank is also going to be your friend as a business person. Make sure you set up a bank account right off the hop so your business finances are separate. But depending on your business history, your own personal credit history, it may be difficult to get funding from the bank right off the hop. So the bank actually partners a lot with these organizations because the barriers to get approved for financing are a little bit lower just based on your personal circumstances. So if you can build up a really good credit history with one of these organizations after you've secured financing from them, it's going to put you in a really good place to secure financing from the bank in the long term. So I think it's just a matter of getting started. And it sounds, again, very intimidating to think about applying for funding, putting a business plan together, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, just know you're not alone. There are going to be people that are going to help you the entire way through to make sure that even if there's a question that you have or something that you don't even know how to get started on, like how do I put a marketing plan together for my business? They will show you, examples. They will tell you what kind of things to look for, point you in the right direction, and share resources. So that way you're not starting from the ground up.
Correct.
Yeah.
So again po, everything will be on the website anyway,
Yes.
no?
Yeah.
Sa website ng Filipino Business Council.
Yes.
Abangan na lang natin
The
yun.
website will be your one-stop shop. And what's really great about the website too is that we're going to be building a business directory for Philippine businesses.
I love it.
Yes. Yeah. There's so many people that ask us, especially people who aren't part of the Philippine community, because they want to support our community, but they don't really know what businesses exist.
Correct.
So we're going to have a free directory that folks can access that will just have a comprehensive list of all of the Filipino businesses that decide to register. So you self-register, and then you can put your information on there, your website, your phone number, talk a little bit about the industry that you're in. So that way, if somebody wants to support a Filipino business, maybe they want to do something special during Philippine Heritage Month, and they want to support a Filipino restaurant in their area, you can just do a quick search and boom, you'll see the closest restaurants to you.
Wow. Plus you're supporting local pa. That's the
Local.
best part.
Exactly.
And Filipino local.
Exactly.
Love it. Love it.
And our website was actually funded by a government grant. So
Ayan, dami pa.
comes
Okay.
full circle.
So pwede pa pala po yun, ano? So, okay, explore po natin yun after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we can go back, probably we could guess your technical person dyan. Then we can go live kung paano nila i-explore yung website.
Yeah, that would be great.
Right?
That'd be a lot of fun.
Because most of the time, paano to? How's this?
Yeah.
So if we go live, people could,
We can
interact.
do like a little walkthrough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that'll be 2 weeks from now.
We'll keep you in the loop.
Okay.
Hopefully sooner. Stay tuned.
So we are talking about right now is more on a combination, traditional marketing and digital. Most of the time we're going digital already. Instagram, of course, number one.
Yeah.
How can the council help new business people?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the great thing about being involved with the council is that we have history. We've been around for 13 years. And we have a platform. We have thousands of followers on Facebook, a really strong following on Instagram, which is still relatively new. And we can help promote your business for you. Like, we do as much work as we can, coming across Philippine businesses and, just genuinely, without a cost, resharing some of that content. But we need these businesses to approach us as well, because it's impossible to find all this information on our own. So we want the business people to come to us, to join the membership. We have a very, very low barrier cost to enter, and once you're a member for life. So you don't need to constantly pay an annual membership fee. It'll be very accessible, and what's really important for us is that we have a very very, very wide net that we cast to make sure that people have a place that they can turn to, and that it's not going to be hundreds of dollars for them to register to be part of this, because that is very inaccessible, especially for a new business owner. You're a newcomer, $50 matters, especially in this economy right now with inflation and the cost of produce being so crazy, and like everything is just so expensive right now. So we want to make sure that it's a very, very low entry point, and then you have access to all the resources. And there's tons and tons of free resources that are part of the council that you don't even need to pay for as a member. But we really do want to make sure that the members know how we can support them, help promote the work that they do, and also see like what other businesses there are too, because people are always surprised by like, oh, I didn't know. Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, I didn't know that you had food distribution. I was like, we need to get some of that stuff in our restaurant. But yeah, like you just don't know what you don't know.
Correct.
I think that that's the thing, and it's really interesting because there's a lot of business people that come up to us. You know, I have meetings with new entrepreneurs that are like, I didn't even know that this existed. Like, I didn't even know that there was a community like this, because if I did, I would have been a part of it right away. Or something else that we hear is that I joined XYZ networking group and I felt like I felt othered. I felt like I did not belong. And that can happen a lot when you're a racialized person, a young person, you know, whatever it may be, a woman or, you know, non-binary. It's easy to feel like you're not part of, you know, the boys club or whatever club that may be. So we really try to make sure that we are as low barrier as possible for anyone who is interested in learning and is looking for community. We really want to make sure that these folks feel represented and part of something that is representative of what they believe in. So that's a really big part of our mantra. We are as inclusive as possible, and we want to make sure that everyone feels represented in every way. So,
Speaking of community, but it's a family, right? It's a business family where you support each other. How can they join the family of Business Council?
Yes, for sure. Well, when the website's up, the form will be there. But in the meantime, you can just email us info@mfbc.ca, or if you follow us on Instagram or Facebook @mfbcwpg, just send us a direct message and then we'll get you set up. And once we launch the new website, the new membership form is going to be there too.
Okay.
So what we did actually was, which was really great, we had an event in partnership with RBC for Filipino Heritage Month, and we actually gave everyone that attended free membership. So free membership for life. And so that way, you know, again, like, and we plan on doing more of these types of activities so that way the barriers can be eliminated for people to access these resources that they truly do need. But even if you don't want to sign up as a member right away, we have a lot of free events throughout the year. So that way you can maybe, you know, just dab your foot in the water. Just get your foot wet a little bit, you know, learn a little bit more about who we are, what we do, what we're all about. So we plan on doing some really fun stuff around Cultivation Festival at the end of August.
Nice.
So that runs at the end of August. And we also plan on having a market at the end of the year too. So that way we'll have a chance to have some of the small businesses display and sell some of their goods, and hopefully maybe inspire some other people to come in who maybe are just browsing the market and be like, I want to be able to do that. Hey, like I can do that too. So yeah, it's you know, when you look at the data points, like small to medium enterprises make up, you know, over 99% of businesses in this country. So we really want to make sure that our small to medium enterprise business owners feel like they are supported.
Correct.
Because, you know, not everyone can run a multi-million-dollar company. And it's funny because there's a lot of misconception around being a business owner and what wealth looks like for you. Automatically, when people are like, oh, you run a business, you must be doing so well financially. You got a pool in your backyard, you got a boat and a, you know, cabin over the weekends that you enjoy over the summer. But a lot of small business owners are hardly making ends meet and need support. They need a lot of support. And I think that the general population sometimes doesn't understand that. And small businesses and medium enterprises are the lifeblood of our economy, and they employ, you know, a good chunk of the people that live and work here too. So I think it's really important to make sure that they feel supported.
Speaking of support, and we're talking more about personal, as a business owner, how can this future business owner balance their personal life to a business life?
That's a very
in
good
your
question.
own, as a business person. Kasi mahirap yan eh, right?
Oh, so hard. It's so hard. Because in a lot of ways. Like, I'm a parent. I have,
Mm-hmm.
one and a half year old and a 7-year-old. And for many people that own a business, your business is another baby.
Correct.
And it needs to be taken care of all the
Mm-hmm.
time, 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And if a crisis occurs, like, you got to go. It can't be put on hold.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it circles back to something that we talked about earlier, and it's mental health and making sure
Yeah.
that you are taking care of yourself when you're running your business, because it can become all-consuming, and it can feel incredibly lonely, and you can feel sometimes lost, without support, without somebody that has similar challenges to you, because you may be part of a family that has chosen to take on, much more conventional paths,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what our community does, right?
Mm-hmm.
We as, either immigrants ourselves or children of immigrants, um, our ancestors or our parents had given up so much to
Yeah.
establish a new life here in Canada, and they wanted us to have security once
Mm-hmm.
we moved here.
Correct.
Hence why we see so many of our kababayan in jobs where you have, a lot of stability, you got great benefits, and the works. And so there's nothing wrong with that by any means. I think it's really important to find a place where you feel comfortable. And if you do decide that the entrepreneurial path is for you, then that's great. But make sure that you prioritize your mental health too, because at the end of the day, your business will not prosper if you're not taking care of yourself,
Correct.
and you're not working at your best.
Mm-hmm.
And that means at your best physically, at your best mentally, and at your best spiritually, if that's
Mm-hmm.
something that you believe in. So take the time to take care of yourself is really important. Make sure that you don't isolate yourself from other people. That can be very easy too, because
Mm-hmm.
you're got your
You're
head
focused,
down,
yes.
you're so focused that you start forgetting
Mm-hmm.
about everyone else around you. And so, just always take a pause. I think that it's really important to take a pause, make sure that you're spending enough time with your family,
Mm-hmm.
because that can be very challenging as well. And make sure you have the support circle, your friends, your
The
family
council.
members,
Yeah.
the council. We're here for you.
Yeah, we're here for you.
And at the end of the day, the business will be there tomorrow.
Correct.
Things aren't gonna fall apart in a matter of a few minutes or a few hours. So if it's a matter of waiting for something that you can do tomorrow to do today, or spending time with your loved ones that you haven't seen for
Mm-hmm.
for weeks at a time, like, make sure that you're making time for that too. It's
Well
really
said.
important.
So that's part of a business plan per se. So you have this business plan. Of course, you have this family time, your time for yourself. We have to consider those one as well to
Mhm.
start up a business.
Yeah.
So, kaya ko ba to? Yes, kaya ko to. But on the other side, you have to sacrifice something.
Mhm.
Kaya ba namin to? No? Pag nasagot mo na yung mga points na yan, then do your business ideas, your propositions, then start po
Mhm.
yung business po natin. Pero pag hindi, hold back muna. Di ba?
Oh,
Kasi
for sure.
if you're there already, then hindi ko pala kaya to, naapektuhan yung aking pamilya.
Oh, 1,000%. It's so easy to lose sight of it.
Exactly.
And there's one other thing that I should mention too when it comes to work-life balance, is that if you are in a business where you do have a team of people, you need to trust your team.
Good point.
You really do, because they're going to be there to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you trust your team and you have people who are incredibly skilled at what they do and have a high aptitude for whatever that industry may be,
Mm-hmm.
then that's going to allow you to not only grow as a business, but also have that work-life balance that you need. And I think that being able to give up some control of like what your day-to-day looks like in the business is really important. It's so hard to sometimes, because
Mm-hmm.
your business is your baby and you want it to run exactly the way that you have in your mind what it's supposed to look like. And
Yeah.
if you don't believe that somebody else can do it as well or better than you,
Mm-hmm.
then there's something wrong. Like, that you really need to be able to
It's true.
right, to trust the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
and that they can give you the time and space that you need to be able to focus on your mental health too.
Mm-hmm. So again, in the
Yeah.
business growth, it's not a one-man show.
Yeah.
It's a team effort. Kasi of course,
Yeah.
again, Jack is always saying, mental health po, napaka-importante po yan
Mhm.
sa negosyo. And of course, yung balance of life. So, let's go back to the council. Success stories.
Yeah.
So, naging personal tayo dun kanina.
Yeah.
So, success stories of the council in regards to yung mga natutulungan nyo. Can you share some success stories?
Yeah, for sure. I can think of quite a few of our members that are just doing so incredibly well. The one that comes to mind, her name is Lourdes Still, and she runs Masagana Flower Farm.
I could interview her.
Bring her in. She's amazing. She's amazing. And she started, she actually has a background as a dietitian, nutritionist when she came from the Philippines. But when she moved here, she ended up becoming a florist. Like she worked at a flower distributor.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually she decided to open up her own flower farm. And now she has just completely just been a rock star. She's been amazing at what she does. And what's really beautiful about it is that she's not even based in the city. She's a bit of a drive away, but she's made an incredible mark, not only in Winnipeg, but nationally. She's been featured in Chatelaine magazine.
Wow.
And she has done it right because she knew early on that she could not do this alone. And she was very quick to find the networking groups that were going to be able to support her. And she got funding, and support from government grants and, from the partners that you really should be reaching out to, because it is a lonely venture. And if you do it all alone by yourself, you will not be able to have that accelerated growth that she has been able to experience, because she was willing enough to say, like, I can't do this by myself. And she's a very active member. She comes to, most of our meetings, and she shares not only her success stories, but her challenges too, which I think is really important to be
motivating.
Yeah, it's very motivating, because I think one of the challenges that, I had growing up as somebody who is part of the Philippine community is that a lot of us have a hard time being vulnerable, to be able to open up and to admit that we've failed and had hard times, because there's so much pressure to be the best at things and to do super well, where we suppress a lot of the things that we aren't proud of. But I think being able to acknowledge that things aren't always going okay. And we have a lot of members that share these stories too. And I think it's really important to hear that, because the journey to success is not linear.
Correct.
Right? So if you can hear it from people that you really look up to, like I love Lourdes and everything that she does, and I think she's an absolute rock star, and she's going to just completely take over the world with the work that she does. She already is. But to hear that, not every day is as easy as the last, I think is very, very important. And it's different to hear it from somebody that's not from your community, because as much as you want to try to connect with it, you can still feel out of touch, right? Like they have a different lived experience than you do. But when you see somebody who maybe also moved from the Philippines, as you did when you were XYZ years old, or maybe, you want to start a flower business, maybe you want to become like a florist and, do something similar. And you hear those types of stories and you're like, okay, well, that's okay then. And you feel less afraid, because I think one of the biggest challenges with being a business person is that you feel like you are risking it all.
Correct.
Whether it's financially or career-wise or reputationally, you're putting everything on the line, and that can be incredibly scary.
Yes.
So knowing that it is okay if things don't pan out the way that you had hoped, then I think that just lifts a little bit of weight off of your shoulders. And you still you got that drive to do well and to do the best that you can. But at the end of the day, it's okay if things don't work out the way that they were supposed to, because usually there's a reason for that. And if that one business doesn't pan out, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be a business person in the long term. Maybe you end up finding another venture because of what you learned from the first one, and so on and so forth. So I think there's a reason for everything when it comes to being in business.
The best part with that, you got a pattern already.
Yeah.
So if you're on going on the left side, oh, nagagawi ako, I have to talk to Lourdes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Right? So she can mentor you right away.
Yeah.
So we have 15 minutes left. Ang bilis ng oras.
So fast. You prepped me with so many questions and we
I
hardly
did, but
touched on them. I talk too much. That's probably why.
but you cover a lot already. So,
Good.
last question, and do you have online questions? Okay. Last two questions. Sorry. We are talking about diversity, and off the air we're talking about women entrepreneurship. So, business sector is changing.
Yeah.
You're the first female Manitoba Filipino Council president. Mga female ba, how does it, I don't know, want to, female entrepreneurship, how can you describe them right now? Emerging, aggressive, accepted?
Flourishing. Flourishing, for sure. We are a majority female board, which we're really proud of, and we have been since I took over as president. And it's still important to have male voices at the table, but it's funny because when you see a majority female board, people are like, oh, congratulations, that's awesome. Keep up the good work, which is great, but people don't notice when there's a majority male board, right? Like they feel like that's just normal, that's status quo. Like we need for this to be the norm in spaces and places. And same thing with female entrepreneurship. It has to be celebrated for sure because that's how we're going to have progress. But I really hope one day we're going to see equity in not only female and women entrepreneurship as far as starting up businesses go, but in succeeding as businesses too, because there are a lot of gaps that still exist in terms of not just female representation in business, but also the success rate of female-owned businesses. And thankfully, there is a growing selection of resources to support women in business, but there's a lot of complexities too, right? Because oftentimes women end up being the caretaker in their families. So a lot of women in business are not only running their business, they are picking up their kids from school,
Their
taking
parents,
them to all the activities, making sure dinner's on the table. So there's a lot of challenges with being able to juggle all of that, and we need support as women, and we need to support one another as well. And so we definitely have a very focused effort on making sure that the women in our membership feel like they do have that sounding board.
Correct.
And so you really do gravitate towards people that look like you, right? That have similar lived experiences to you, and having women on this board and having women in the membership is really, really important. Because you're not going to attract women to join the membership if they don't see themselves represented in it.
Correct.
And so we're really proud to see so many more women that are reaching out to us that want to be part of the membership in the community, and young people too. Like when we have young people on the board, we have an incredible director of student engagement. Her name is Carla Atnasio, and she is just finishing up university right now. Just an incredible powerhouse. She's the chair of Benoist on Parliament. She's involved with ANAC, like a million other
That's
organizations.
good. Yes.
She's it's already a leader, and already like light years ahead of where most of us were at her age. But if we didn't have someone like her who was part of the membership, I don't think we would have young people that would be interested and engaged in what we do, because they don't see themselves represented in the work that we do. So we as a membership, as a council, as a board, need to be proactive in making sure that we find people and invite people in to be a part of something, to make sure that people feel like they're accepted and they feel like they belong.
Correct. That's
Yeah.
the word. We belong.
Yeah.
Last question. Can you give some advice or tips to future entrepreneurs on maintaining healthy work-life balance and building a growing business in Winnipeg?
Yeah. That's a really good question. And I think the advice is super simple and can be applied not just in business but in life. But it's just, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, it's such a simple thing to do, but I think a lot of us grow up with this level of pride, not intentional, right? Like, as Filipinos, we are taught to suppress a lot of things, like emotionally, and again, as far as failure goes, like we don't talk a lot about the challenges that we face. And as a result of that, we are left to fend for ourselves oftentimes. So just don't be afraid to ask for help and to be vulnerable and to be okay with not knowing things. I think that's a really important thing as an entrepreneur too, no matter what stage you're at, because you have to wear as many hats as you can, but you can't wear them all. Because if you're doing your bookkeeping, you're doing all your legal stuff, writing your bylaws, like everything, you're not going to get very far.
You'll be calling me.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be like, what's going on here? We need help. It's so true, though. It's so true. So invest in yourself and invest in the people around you. And sometimes you need to spend a little to get a lot back. It's all about return on investment. And, it's okay to spend a little bit more than you feel comfortable with. I know it's your hard-earned money, or your family's money, if you're borrowing money from mom, dad, sister, brother, whoever it may be. But you need to invest to grow your business. And I think that is something that is a concept that's really challenging for a lot of people too. That sometimes it's okay. There's strategic debt. The concept of strategic debt is very foreign in our community because there's a very low tolerance for risk.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a very low tolerance for risk, which is understandable, right? A lot of us are still in one of the first generations of immigration, and our families gave up so much to come here and to throw it all away. Okay, we're going to put $100,000 into this business venture and see how it goes.
Yeah.
It can be very, very challenging to take on that debt. But again, if you did the research, if you talk to the right people, you invested in yourself to bring in the right advisors into your circle, then strategic debt is okay. It's okay to spend money on your business if you did your homework and you know that there's a long-term forecast to project profitability. So sometimes you just need to trust a little bit more too.
That's the word, trust. We belong, and investment for yourself. Mag-i-invest po tayo sa sarili po natin by joining the council.
Yes.
Invite them to join the council.
Please, we would love to have you. Please feel free to join the Manitoba Filipino Business Council. It doesn't matter where you're at in your business journey. You could literally just be starting to picture what it might be like to be an entrepreneur, or maybe you're a business person in a specific industry and you work with entrepreneurs and you want to be able to find ways to better support them, then this is the community for you. So if you are interested in learning more, please feel free to follow us at mfbc.WPG on Instagram, Manitoba Filipino Business Council on Facebook. And you can email us if you have any questions or you want a membership forum, info@mfbc.ca. And our website is coming up soon in the next few weeks, mfbc.ca.
Very good. So lahat po ng sinabi ni Press Jackie nasa description line po natin, yung kanilang information. Then para po at least ma-click po ninyo and follow nyo po sila. Then after 2 weeks, meron na po silang website. Nandiyan na po yung flood of information natin magagamit po natin to start up a business. Po. So again po, any events coming up?
The Cultivation Festival is going to be the next
yun?
one. So we're going to have 2 events. One is going to be a panel, a fireside chat with a very special guest. Information will be launching very, very soon, so keep an eye out on our social media channels. And we're also going to have something called Galavanting. Galavanting around the exchange. So it's going to be a walking tour to visit a bunch of different Filipino-owned businesses in the Exchange District. It's going to be a lot of fun.
May narinig akong Filipino area dyan na maganda. Yes. Okay. So again, lahat po ng information po niyan nasa description line ng ating Facebook and your Facebook and Instagram page po nila and our YouTube channel. Again, thank you, Press.
Thank you so much. Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat po.
Okay. And this is your host, Aldous Guzman, dito po sa 899 Action Center. May problema kayo? May solusyon kami. Salamat po. God bless.